This is the culture.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Cinema Wave podcast. My name is Mark Jacobino. I'll be one of your hosts today, part of the animation crew here at Cinema Wave. I am so excited for today's episode. I am joined by the always reliable Vinny Albano.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be here today.
And Mikey Pennison doing the production.
Hello. Happy to be back, guys. Happy to be back.
I'm so excited, guys. We are talking about the best of animation in 2023. We're giving you our top 5 list today, and I have no problem saying this. I think 2023 was the greatest year in animation when it comes to diversity of projects across the globe, quality of projects, critical acclaim of projects. I really do think it was an extremely special year in animation, and I hope it marks a turning point in the space of animation, that people start taking animation seriously. We get more mature anime projects, and all of these award shows start giving it up to animation on the biggest stages. It's so time. So here's how it'll work today. We'll be giving our top 5 list. If someone has something lower on their list, let's say I have something at my number 5, but Vinny has the same thing at his number 2. We'll say punt, and then we'll move on to the next one. And then when we get to that spot, then we'll be able to talk about that project. We'll also be giving our honorable mentions list, quick little intros into things that just didn't make the top 5 list, but we also really, really enjoyed this year. So without further ado, I think we're going to get in and give you guys our top 5 animated projects. This includes TV and movies, and short films. I know, Mike, you might have some short films for us, so I'm really excited to hear about all the projects that I either watched this year or maybe didn't get to this year and can hopefully jump into after we stop recording. So, yeah, I think I'll jump right in with my honorable mentions. These were projects that I loved, but I just don't think they were as consistent maybe as my top 5. So first one I'm going to talk about is Frieren Beyond Journey's End. This is an anime that has taken the world by storm. It's currently the highest rated anime on my anime list. I think that is not entirely deserved right now, but that does not take away from how good this anime is. The basic premise of the anime is that there's a elf that lives for thousands of years, and she was in a party of heroes that slayed the Demon King, and this is the time in her life after that, the big victory over the Demon King. And the interesting wrinkle to it is that she does live for thousands of years, so this time that she spent with her war party was only a blip on her entire lifespan, and she doesn't appreciate the time she has with them when she does go through that adventure. And it kind of goes through a journey with her, like, as she starts to appreciate the time that she starts to spend with new party mates, which is really great. It's a great message to send, and every episode is just like a cozy blanket. It's like this fantasy world. It does a great job of establishing this lived-in world and passing of time. And the best way I could describe it is just it's a nice cozy blanket every week. I love watching. Beautiful animation by Madhouse, I believe, and the score is fantastic by Evan Call. So Frieren, definitely. I know, Vinny, you've been meaning to watch it.
Yes.
So I've been talking a lot, so I want to give you a second.
No, I just wanted to comment.
Yeah.
Audiences who may be Frieren fans or interested, I do plan on catching up and hopefully doing a review with you on Frieren, and Mikey even too. I know you said you were interested.
I am very interested. Very interested. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, because that is a show that has been, I've seen it all over the internet.
Yeah.
So I've been really meaning to watch it, and hopefully I feel the same way.
Yeah. I'm excited to hopefully talk about it with you guys. It's a whopping 28 episode first season, so it's at episode 20 right now. So hopefully when that wraps up, we can get a nice big episode together. So next one on my list is a anime film, actually, Suzume. It recently came out this year. It got nominated for a Golden Globe. It comes from the creator of Your Name and Weathering with You, 2 really highly acclaimed anime films. And Suzume was just an enjoyable theater experience. Again, beautiful animation, beautiful music by Rand Whips, and it's just like a very heartwarming story that also has a great message about, dealing with your past and accepting your past, and maybe how family members might have done you wrong or abandoned you in the past. So it's a really beautiful, touching story. It has slice of life elements, it has fantasy elements, and it was just really, really enjoyable, and the characters are awesome. So definitely recommend Suzume if you have not seen it. I know Boy and the Heron is taking all the anime publicity right now in the movie space, but I think Suzume is also a really good watch. And then the last thing I want to talk about is Bad Batch. I'm the Star Wars guy. That's how I got introduced to Cinema Wave. So I do have to give a shout out to Bad Batch. Season 2 this season really upped its game in the Star Wars animated space. A lot of these episodes dealt with political intrigue. It dealt with really deep concepts of what happens to soldiers after the war's over. How are they treated? What happens to soldiers that the government they work for goes from a democracy to an empire? It's really deep questions, and I think some of the episodes they do a fantastic job with. There's definitely some misses this season, which is why I don't have it in my top 5, but I'm really excited for the final season, which we just got a trailer for yesterday, and that's coming out next month. So I'm hoping that season 3, the final season, will be on my top 5 list next year when we come back in here and do it again in 2025, which is crazy to say. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions. Hope you guys check those out if you haven't seen them, or you guys if you haven't seen them. But gonna pass it off to you, Mikey. What are your honorable mentions for 2023?
Yes, so my honorable mentions for 2023. I will preface this whole thing first by saying that when it comes to animation, I feel like my list is going to be super different just because I am still so new to the anime genre. We just had our discussion, about the solo leveling and every first couple episodes, but everything else is very, very different. Let's just say very different.
And we love that. I'm excited to hear it.
Thank you. The first one being a short film, actually, that got nominated for an Oscar as of today, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yes. It's called The Flying Sailor. Okay. It's an Amanda Forbes and Wendy Tilby project, essentially. There's no real way to describe it. It's like it's stop motion to a degree, I guess you could say, but like 2D stop motion. It's like a different way that I've seen stop motion, and basically a shipwreck happens, and a sailor is standing on a dock that's like about 50 feet away from it, and the destruction is so massive that it ends up destroying the town, and it sends this guy flying. And while he's flying through the air, he gets all of these crazy kind of just quick snapbacks to his past. This is life, like that sort of like you see your life flashes before you guys sort of thing. But just the animation style, it was like it would go from very peaceful and like kind of like these like really quick and subtle, like I don't even know how to like describe it, because it was so, I don't know. I feel like stop motion has been very prevalent, and I'll kind of get back to it because it appears a lot in my list, actually. But it's just, again, something I've never really seen before. And it's the stylization of it was just beautiful. And so that was one. I definitely recommend you guys see that, especially because it just recently got that nomination as well, which was cool. The other two are very different. That's very different. Scott Pilgrim, Taste the World. We spoke about that. Me and Vinny spoke about that in here. That was a good watch. It was a good watch. I don't know if you have that on your list or not, so I won't really talk too much. It's typical Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, spoiler, I do not have it on my list.
Okay. You do not, okay.
Yes, no, I do not. But it was great.
Yes, no, it was good. It was a good watch. Scott Pilgrim, that's that franchise. If you love the movie, I feel like this very similar. All Scott Pilgrim projects are fairly alike. This just kind of takes it to a new sort of twist, I guess you could say. It involves cool elements. I don't want to spoil a lot of it, but it was just cool. It was a cool watch. Nothing like crazy. It was not a top 5 type of project, nor is my third honorable mention.
I still haven't seen any Scott Pilgrim project, so
I know.
I gotta watch the movie. I'll watch the
movies. Yeah, it's really good. My last one is the the episodes of Rick and Morty that I watched this year.
I haven't caught up on Rick and Morty in a minute.
Yeah,
I heard about the whole controversy with the guy. He's not. How are the new voice actors?
It's not that it's like you could definitely tell it's not the same. I think it's just the whole Rick and Morty. I've always loved Rick and Morty, and so I feel like it's just like because it's Rick and Morty and because it's different and I feel like Rick and Morty started this a wave of like intergalactic type like raunchy comedy animation, which you're kind of seeing a lot more in like Netflix and stuff, and like I don't know, and so I will say I didn't watch the whole season. That's another reason why it's on my honorable mention list, but it's Rick and Morty. It's typical Rick and Morty. It is. It's not as good as the past, but it's still worthy enough to be on an honorable mention list.
Cool.
I think.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll pass it on to Vinny.
All right, yeah. So Rick and Morty, because I used to be a huge Rick and Morty fan, but it was like I think it was like season 5 that like I fell off. It was the sperm episode. Where,
oh my god! Yeah.
I just completely like. There was an episode after that I watched, and then I just didn't continue it. But I have heard that like it's surprisingly, even with the new voice actors, it's actually like pretty good.
It's not bad. I'd watch it. Yeah.
So starting my honorable mentions. So I have this might be like a controversial honorable mentions because I feel like some people might. Or a majority of people will have these films a lot higher. Well, first off, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I adore that movie. I wish I could put it higher, but the other projects on this list are just even better. And just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem was so fun. I loved seeing... when I grew up, I was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, so I love seeing like this new rendition where it's a lot more like modern and they feel like teenagers in the modern generation. It's just a lot of fun. Ice Cube plays a great villain, and there's a lot of funny references to some animes that we might reference
in studio.
But yeah, it was just a lot of fun, and I love the animation style. It has that Spider-Verse type of 2D kind of blend with 3D. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles though was like a lot more scratchier. I really liked it. My second honorable mention actually is Spider-Verse. So yeah.
And the first riff among the group.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I'm surprised.
Yeah. Wow. So that's why I was saying that my honorable mentions might be controversial because obviously everyone loves Spider-Verse and they and don't get me wrong, it's an amazing film. It's still on my honorable mentions. Like Spider-Verse was a blast. I did have some faults with it, but I mean, I feel like everything that to say about Spider-Verse has already been said. Like, it's just an incredible film. It breaks new ground, and the animation is stellar. I think for me, I actually liked it a lot more on rewatch. The first time I watched it, and why I think it's kind of lower on the list, is when I watched it in theaters. I know they fixed this, but when I watched it in theaters, the sound mixing was really off, and I could barely hear anything. And I think that really dramatically like affected my enjoyment of the film, as well as like the pacing and the story structure of it. However, it's still Spider-Verse, and it's incredible. Mikey, I know you love Spider-Verse. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But hey, it's still on the honorable mentions. And then my third one, which is what you also put on your honorable mentions, Mark, Susume.
Oh, yeah.
I just recently watched it, and it was beautiful. I haven't watched any of Shinkai's other work, so I haven't watched Your Name or
Well, Weathering with You.
Weathering with You.
Yeah.
There was 5 centimeters per second and whatnot. Garden of Flowers, I believe. Anyhow, haven't seen any of them. So, but I know of like his films, and I really enjoyed this. Like, I thought it was just beautiful. And you mentioned it, how like there's slice of life elements to it, and I really enjoyed those elements the most because the film feels as if there's this huge epic quest going on. However, you have a lot of the film is just these scenes of ordinary people's lives through the perspective of Susume and how she connects with these ordinary people that she just finds along her quest. And it feels very Ghibli-esque.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I liked not going in too much into spoilers, but the whole dynamic with the other characters who are non-human. And yeah, those are my honorable mentions. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. The slice of life stuff is so fun. In Suzume, like the karaoke bar, all that stuff is really fun. Cool. Well, we got our let us know when you do watch it, Mikey. Cool. All right, so we're gonna jump right into our top 5 here. So I'll start us off at number 5. I don't think you guys have seen this series, but number 5, I'm going with Netflix's Blue Eye Samurai.
Ooh.
Have you guys seen it at all?
I really wanted to.
Yeah.
Before we filmed this, actually, but I didn't get the time. So.
Gotcha.
Likewise.
Yeah. So I literally bought Netflix last week because I didn't have Netflix all year since they changed their password thing, and I was like, you know what, I need to watch this stuff because I've heard so many good things, and yeah, it lives up to the hype. It's Kill Bill in feudal Japan. I love that it's set in like a historically accurate time, like the basis of the revenge tale is the white man in Japan, which is interesting because Japan does have this law during the 1600s that there's no outsiders. It's complete isolationism. So it's this very interesting, like very historical fiction, which is cool. I always love when it kind of bakes in historical fiction into work. So that's really cool. It's not as, black and white as Revenge. I really like halfway through. I'm not going to spoil anything, but halfway through, it adds a wrinkle to the revenge tale that I haven't seen done before. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how it sets itself apart from just the basic revenge tale. Without saying anything else, the action is incredible. I mean, it's such dynamic camera work. You expect that type of Eastern type martial arts work with the action, but we have swords and we have different types of Japanese weapons. Really cool. And I think just the last thing that gets me excited about this series is that I went into it thinking it was a 1-season limited series, but it's actually like planned to be 3 or 4 seasons. Yeah, so it's going to be a big sweeping story, which I didn't know. And when it came to the last episode, I was like, there's no way they can wrap this up right now. And they wrap it up in a really satisfying way that sets up like each character on their own path. And that's the other thing I want to mention, just the way they weave all the different characters into each other's stories is really well done. So Blue Eye Samurai, definitely worth the hype, and the animation is really cool. Again, it's a blend of that 2D, 3D kind of thing, but the 3D is almost like the entire environment is kind of built in like a video game engine, so the camera can kind of work through it. And then there's wide shots that are just like beautiful, like Japanese paintings kind of. So yeah, Blue Eye Samurai is my number 5. Yeah. Mikey, number 5. What do you got for us?
Yeah, definitely want to watch that still. It definitely looks good. My number 5, I went with another short film. Another that was actually, again, they're good, I'm telling you. This one was also nominated today for an Oscar, the same. They both got the animated short film, best animated short film. This one is an ostrich. An ostrich told me that the world is fake, and I think I believe it. It's written and directed by Lachlan Pendragon. And so I remember when I watched this, I watched it like, I think it was like I saw it like maybe on TikTok. Like it was like they like throw like those snippets up, and like the thing that I appreciate about these films is that like a lot of them are just like kind of like people will throw them up on YouTube, and so like that kind of just shows to show like how expansive the world is, that like Oscar nominees are also just like people throwing their project. I mean, granted, I don't know if there's more, but this project specifically, it was one of those projects that I have never seen anything like it before. It was another stop motion. The best way I can describe it is it's like the Truman Show meets like, I don't know if you guys saw that movie Free Guy. It was like that Ryan Reynolds movie where he's like an NPC and he realizes that he like there's a creator sort of thing. It's that but animated essentially, and like a guy he's like working in an office space. I don't want to spoil it just because also these are very short projects. Like this was like 12 minutes on, so it's like definitely watch it. I don't want to spoil anything, but an ostrich comes to him in the office at some point and basically explains to him how his world is fake. Cool. And he starts to kind of see it, and it starts to have like this super cool like Jordan Peele sort of, it turns into like a crazy thriller. And like the shots I've seen in it, and it's like they do like this really cool thing too where it's like the screen, it's like the film itself is on like a monitor, like as if like you have like a monitor like attached to a camera. And in the background, like you see like the hands still moving everything, basically like setting up everything. But your focus is on the monitor, and then it will cut out of the monitor sometimes, or then come back. And so it's just like it's so Twilight Zone-ish. It's like it's really, really, really worth the watch. Honestly, cool. Like, and it's a quick watch.
So, and that's YouTube.
YouTube. Yep.
Wow.
It's
okay. Great.
An ostrich told me the world is fake, and I think I believe it.
Okay. All right.
I'll pass it. Yeah, that's by 5. That's
really cool. I really have to check that out, especially since earlier in 2023 I did a stop motion like claymation project of mine, and like I feel like I haven't indulged in enough stop motion, you know, besides that, and I love stop motion.
It's crazy. Yeah, like Grimace and Wallace and Grimace, I think, kind of like started that, and I think they released a movie this year too, and I didn't watch it, but like
my number one.
No, but yeah, it's definitely a cool sort of subgenre.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. All right, cool. I gotta check out these short films. Yeah. All right. Anyhow, my number 5, which I was conflicted to swap this with Susume. However, I'll defend my point. My number 5 is The Boy and the Heron.
Okay.
Which is really striking because I've watched this film multiple times now in theaters. And the first time, you know, a lot of hype was around this film. First time I came out of the theater and I was like, okay, that's good. That wasn't great though. That was not great. However, I watched it multiple times. I watched it again in English, and I took a whole new perspective away from it after thinking about it for a good week, and then doing my review on it, and then thinking about it even more and more and more. And now I want to see it a third time. And it's just one of those films that it has just grown on me exponentially to the point where whenever someone brings it up, I have more positive thoughts now than negative. And it just keeps growing on me, and there's more things that I'm beginning to notice, and different allegories and subtext that was, you know, I didn't really discover the first time around, but then on the second time, and I feel like the more I think about this film, I'm just kind of chipping away at it. And it's revealing more and more of itself, which I've really enjoyed. And like I mentioned, on my second watch, it was like a whole new perspective. I liked it a lot more than I did on my first watch. So that's The Boy and the Heron. And I was going to say something else about it, but I think that just concludes my thoughts. It's great. It really is great. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I said it in my mini review, but the more symbolic and subtextual side to it will draw a lot of people away. But I also think that, like, in my position, it just over time made the film better. So yeah, that's my number 5.
Nice. Yeah, I can't say I'm the biggest like Ghibli fan. I appreciate the films from afar, but yeah, I think that, like you said, that kind of subtextual nature might go over my head a bit. And that's why I heard it's like kind of built on that. So I haven't watched it. Maybe one day I'll kind of get around to it. But yeah, nice. I know my number 4 is going to get a punt. I know that for a fact. Okay. But number 4, I have Spider-Verse.
Punt.
a punt from Mikey. So how this works is we're not going to talk about Spider-Verse now until we get to it on Mikey's list. So we're going to skip to Mikey's number 4 now.
Okay, it could be a punt. And there's a reason why. I was really torn between my 4 and 3. I had to like really swap it between the two. But I ended up going with Invincible season 2, part 1 for my number 4. Yes. Any
No punt for me. No
punt for me, but I should have probably included that on my list. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot about that at first. But Invincible, we had a whole discussion on it. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. We've had a discussion, like you said. You'll watch that discussion. Very good discussion, all of us. I don't know. Season 1 of Invincible was just so good. I don't have to get too much into that. We all know how it ended. And so I just feel like immediately granted, it was only like 3 episodes, 3 or 4, maybe.
Yeah, it was just the first half.
Yeah. And so, granted, it was only those episodes, but I feel like it just like hit the ground running. It was just like that first intro scene was just so good. And then even where they left off, it was like, I didn't think that they could top like what is going on type feeling, but like no, they did. And so it definitely set me in a place of excitement to see what's to come next. And so it made my 4. It made my 4. That's all I really got to say to it. We all know Invincible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think what they just announced, March 21st, part 2 is coming out or coming back. I think it's March. It's coming.
It's March something. Yeah.
Yeah. So. I think it would have had maybe a better chance to get in like my honorable mentions if I had the full season. But I think just on the first half, I really only, like we talked about in our discussion, I really was only drawn to Mark. The mother, Debbie, was her name Debbie? Yeah. And Omni-Man, like that was what I was really drawn to in the first half. But hoping part 2 kind of brings the rest of the cast together too.
Yeah, I just looked it up, March 14th.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm excited for that to come out and then us to talk about it. Because I'm not gonna lie, I should have probably put Invincible on my honorable mentions. I was having a little bit of a difficult time, as I told you guys off camera. But Invincible was so good. It's so good. I'm so excited, and the way they left it off, no spoilers, was incredible, and it showed you a whole different, they're alluding to different sides of these characters that we didn't see as much on season 1. So yeah.
And it got the Oscar nom today. It got an Oscar nom today.
Wait, really?
It did. Invincible got one. Unless this is like another Invincible, and I'm just...
Yeah, I was like, wait, it's not a movie. It's not a movie, Mikey. How would it get an Oscar nomination?
Wait a second.
There was something I did see. It said like The Invincible or something.
Maybe.
There's no way.
Maybe, because I swear it was like animated something, and it fell underneath the animated category, but... Maybe I'm tripping. Who knows?
The first TV show to ever get an Oscar nomination. Go ahead, Invincible. Go ahead.
There we go.
They break new ground.
Yes.
All right. So I think this might get a punt from me from Mark here, but my number 4 spot is Attack on Titan: The Final Chapters.
Oh yeah, a huge punt.
Okay.
Huge punt.
All right. So yeah.
All right, we'll come back around.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get there. There. And I think you might trade me a punt here, Vinny, for my number 3. I have Jujutsu Kaisen season 2.
All right, I'm gonna punch you on that.
All right, we're just punting around. We're just having a little catch with the ball right now. All right, Mikey, you're number 3.
Wow, right back. I can tell you this will not be a punt. Again, my list is different.
Which is good.
Yes, but also biased because I grew up a Nintendo boy. And because of that, I had to include the Super Mario Bros.
Yeah.
Okay,
Nice.
okay.
I had to. Like I said, I'm biased. I love Mario. I love Nintendo. I felt like they did this movie justice. I was really excited with this cast, except for Chris Pratt because he's in everything.
Yeah.
but no, honestly, even he, I kind of still like did. Honestly, there was really nothing bad that I thought about this movie. I feel like they kind of set up what could be a new franchise. They could build this into a whole Super Smash Brothers world if they want to get that big with these characters. But as far as this movie, it was nice to kind of see it be brought to the big screen for like a new generation, knowing that like there really hasn't been like a solid like a screen interpretation. And so yeah, and I'm a Nintendo boy, like I said, so it made my list.
It looked like a lot of fun.
Yes.
I didn't end up seeing it, but it did look like a lot of fun. I went to there was a video game awards like symphony orchestra thing, and when I was visiting my sister out in LA, and they were like, oh, we have a special surprise at the end. So we were like, oh my god, what could it be? And in the end, they bring out a piano, and Jack Black comes out in a Bowser costume and performs Peaches for all of us at this like very. It was all about like orchestral music, and then Jack Black comes out and does Peaches. So that's my introduction to the movie at this point right now. Wow. So but yeah, it looked like a fun time.
It was, and it really did highlight like if you like the games, which I feel like even if it's just like Mario Kart, like we all have experience playing some probably like a little bit Mario game, and they kind of cover all of that in the movies. Like in one movie, they cover a lot of Mario content. And so my number 3.
No, yeah, I had a lot of fun with that movie. And now we're also getting a Legend of Zelda film. Yes. And personally, I want a Kirby film.
Oh, that would be. I love Kirby's my go-to character Smash. So yeah, that would be
fun. Link is my main in Smash. At least Smash Ultimate. Okay. Like adult Link, like Breath of the Wild Link in Smash Ultimate. I used to be a young Link main. Okay. But so I love Legend of Zelda, but a Kirby movie? Think about that. That would be so fire. That would be fun. And like just the world of Kirby is so like jolly.
It is. Honestly, it could be such a lovable character.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah. All right. My number 3 spot goes to Pluto. So did any of you guys watch Pluto?
I'm 3 episodes in.
Oh,
I'm 3 episodes in, and I can already tell if I did finish this beforehand, it would probably be in my top 5. Yeah, it's incredible so far.
Yes. So Urasawa is one of the most talented manga artists, mangaka writers of all time. I will adore Monster. Monster is like one of my like not even just top anime, but top just stories of all time. I'm a very like, I love my detective stories. I love like mysteries and like, like these unwinding big tales. So I loved Monster. And although I didn't like Pluto as much as Monster, Pluto gives you a whole different setting, but the same type of storytelling. So it's really interesting of how they're able to intertwine these really complex characters. Urasawa just does amazing with introducing these characters who you're at first like, who is this? And then you fall in love with them in only like an episode or two, and he tears your heart out right after that, or he throws you into a whirlwind of mystery. And, he interweaves a lot of like real life political intrigue and commentary that I very much appreciate into his stories. And these are, at least Pluto takes place in a futuristic version of Germany, and you see a little bit of Japan as well, and it's super great. Like I had a thorough, really enjoyed this from beginning to end. The character work and the plot, just Urasawa is a genius. I can kind of praise him all day, but yeah, number 3 is Pluto for me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to go back home and watch the rest of Pluto. Like they're hour-long episodes, so I mean they're dense. Like you said, he just is so good at introducing these characters. You're like, what am I doing in the countryside right now with these two random people?
Yeah.
And then by the end of the episode, you're like, wait, no, I don't want this to end. I want to keep learning more about these characters. It's fantastic. The music is incredible, and the world that he's built in just 3 episodes. It's a futuristic world where like AI and robots are, starting to gain rights essentially, and there's like friction between humans and robots, but it's nothing like I've seen before. It's so well thought out and integrated, and he adds so much history to the world. It's fantastic. It's definitely like worth a watch if you haven't seen it. It's 8 episodes, right?
Yeah, it's 8 episodes.
Yeah, 8-hour-long episodes. I can't wait to go back and watch it. So in another world, if I watched this before Blue Eye Samurai last week during my binge, it would probably flip. But I'm excited to watch the rest of Pluto.
Where is Pluto on?
Netflix.
Netflix, okay. It is okay.
Yeah. And the animation is stunning. Like, you could tell that, I don't know the studio that animated it, but they took the source material and they put their heart into it. The colors and the drawings, like, there's just some frames that are just so beautiful to look at. Like, I love how consistently through the whole series, and I apologize, I don't want to talk about Pluto for too long, but throughout the whole series, there's just so many frames where the line art has so much like weight to it. There's like they use like the weight of the pen, or at least in modern day animation, the digital pen, just to make such a compelling frame. And then the colors and just the animation in general is also really good. I also love how they use I love how they use computer assets and like 3D elements, blending it with the 2D elements. Honestly, some of the best I've seen in anime. And yeah, that's Pluto.
Hey, you guys are giving me great recommendations.
Is it already? It's back to me now for number 2. Okay, I think we might have to do an episode on Pluto when I finish it, and if you catch up, we're gonna have to do an episode on Pluto because Vinny looks like he's gonna explode to keep talking about it. Okay, so my number 2, because my number 3 got punted. So number 2, we're gonna finally talk about Attack on Titan right here, Survey Corps. So we got the final 2 parts of Attack on Titan. Finally, it ended. And these 2 hour and a half long episodes are just like everything I wanted from Attack on. Like, I just wanted really long episodes of Attack on Titan where we could just dive into the characters. And the opening of the first part is one of the most hauntingly beautiful openings to any type of animated movie I've ever seen before. I don't want to get into spoilers, but it's horrific, but it's also beautifully cut, and the cinematography is so impactful. And the music, of course, with Hiroyuki Sawano and his what's his name, Kota Yamamoto, I think, kind of his like understudy who has done the season 4 score. It's vintage Attack on Titan. It's an incredible character work. It's a masterclass in perspectives. No character is the villain. Every character has their own justification, and you could totally understand where they're coming from. You have amazing, over-the-top action sequences with Mappa somehow blending CGI, 2D, and 3D all together just seamlessly at this point. The action is over the top. The last hour and a half episode, I was sitting there for an hour and a half, like my leg was just shaking. I was just sitting there like locked in. I haven't been this invested in a show in a very long time, maybe since like Clone Wars came back for season 7 after like a 10-year hiatus. So this was like insane. There was controversy for the ending. I don't really know why. It's not a perfect ending, but it's the right ending, especially with a story this complex. It's almost impossible to have like a perfect bow on everything, but it's a really thought-provoking ending. Really like dark and kind of gut punch of an ending, but it makes sense for the world of Attack on Titan. And yeah, I mean, I could talk forever about it, but it's a global phenomenon for a reason. If you haven't watched it, please do yourself a favor. You will become a better storyteller, a better appreciator of animation, music. It's everything. And this has been so fun to talk about Attack on Titan because I haven't had an outlet to talk about Attack on Titan because my podcast is Star Wars. But if I had another podcast, it would be an Attack on Titan podcast. So I love the fact that I was able to just talk about Attack on Titan. So, Vinny, your take on the final 2 parts?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think that the ending, although not perfect, I do have some faults with it. It is still a beautiful ending. It's bittersweet, but it's powerful. And I think that it's tough because I was there. I read the manga, so I was there when the manga first concluded, and the haters spewed onto the internet. And all I can say is that the hate is unwarranted. It was honestly really terrible because even if you didn't like the ending, just the hate, it's internet people, it's keyboard warriors. Yeah. And, these people are like a lot, excuse my language, but a lot of these people are like fucked up individuals.
Yeah.
And they began to really praise certain ideologies in the series that were meant to be looked at as bad, or at least through a perspective to be challenged rather than just accepting it wholeheartedly. And the hate was completely unwarranted. Even when the manga came out, like I said, I didn't think it was a perfect ending, but I was still satisfied. I was still very much satisfied. And I think the anime, they changed some things that really improve it for me. Just very small things. The conversation, not going into spoilers, but the conversation, they kind of structured it differently that gave it so much more of an impact, changed a little bit of dialogue, so much more of an impact in the anime. Much preferred the anime just through those minor changes. A little goes a long way. And I think that, oh my, I apologize. I'm losing my train of thought. But, that's what I was going to say, is that Attack on Titan changed my life. I've cried to Attack on Titan, and even this ending made me emotional.
Me too, brother.
Yeah, even
I'm with you.
Yeah, it's a life-changing story. And when the manga first came out, when the manga first concluded and it hasn't been animated yet, even then, I was so emotional. And the journey of Attack on Titan was, I think, one of the best journeys ever I've experienced in all of storytelling. And it's just incredible. There's never been, I think, at least I haven't seen an anime that I've kind of grown up with. I've been watching it for years, and then I stopped, and then I revisited it when I was much more mature and I could kind of have much more media literacy and I understood it more. And that gave me a whole other layer of appreciation and just wonder and, enjoyableness to the series. That the journey, like I mentioned, impeccable journey. It's every episode had you leaving off on a cliffhanger, itching for more, and then they set up all these questions and you're going one step forward but 2 steps back, and it was amazing. It was awesome. However, I do have it lower on my list because I just think that like I mentioned, I read the manga, so I didn't know what was going to happen. So it just didn't feel as impactful, just knowing what was going to happen. So I think that's one reason why I had it kind of lower on my list compared to you. And then another reason too being that even though, like I said, it was a great ending, but had some faults with it. So looking at it just as those last 2 episodes, right, a little lower. Maybe if it was Attack on Titan, as a whole, from 20, that would be my number one. It would be my number one, yeah. But of course, yeah, that's Attack on Titan for me.
Yeah. Just to put a book in that, isn't it crazy? People that are fans of something, but they don't get the message that is trying to be conveyed by the artwork.
Yes.
Isn't it incredible? I experience it all the time with Star Wars fans. Yeah. It's just how do you love something and obviously they don't understand the themes, but how can you claim to love something and then you just spit in the face of all the themes it's trying to instill in you. It's just, it blows my, I'm like, how are these people this not self-aware? Like, it blows my mind. And it's like, we need to move forward, and that's what art's for. You know, you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I'm the wrong. Maybe I should look at the world differently. I don't know.
And piggybacking off of that too, like, cause
Mikey, you'll get it in a second. Be patient.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mikey.
I'm patient.
I'm sorry, Mikey. Just really quick, just piggybacking off of that. People are crazy, dog. Like, people are crazy. Like, how can you spend 20 years, 10 or X amount of years loving a series and being like, oh my God, this is the best series, and just like, you know, hyping it up online. You know, you have Aaron profile pictures and everything is da. And then the one chapter that concludes it.
Right.
Dog shit. 0 out of 10. 0. They're spamming bad reviews on IMDb. Like, it's crazy. Okay, like, even though you might dislike the ending, like, or even if you really hate the ending, how did it really ruin
everything?
Everything. And also, like you said, misinterpreting the themes and messages. It's crazy. Anime fans they're on the whole level of that. I caught up with the JJK manga, and seeing some of the interpretations online are interesting. Anyhow, I apologize, Mikey, if you wanna take the stage.
No, for what it's worth, I will say that I have been like recommended Attack on Titan since like probably the high school days, like at this point.
Right.
And like to know that, like, granted, like I just recently started like kind of getting into it, so that's on my own fault. But to know and hear that, like, it's held up all these years, because it was same type of reaction and reviews like back then when people were recommending it. So like it's like, just to see that is still holding up, it says a lot to it. And so another one for my I'll get to it. But my number 2, funny enough, fell in your honorary category as well. It's not Spider-Verse yet. I guess gave away my number 1, but fucking it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Nice.
I went with, yes. I really like this movie. I enjoyed the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles growing up. It wasn't really something I was like I wasn't like really into them growing up, but I don't know. It was something that was always just like a cool sort of like, I always thought it was cool. It was there. And I thought that this interpretation was just needed with this sort of, with this generation, with it was just done, and it was executed perfectly. I feel like Seth Rogen for sure was the guy to take this mantle. And he did a really good job. He did it justice. I feel like all of the characters in it were they were teenagers, which was which was really cool to see. You know, it's like, I feel like every other past interpretation that we've gotten with them has been them like grown men acting. You know what I'm saying? Grown men turtles. And so it really made you appreciate it, but it also was just grounded in like modern sort of like phrases and like culture, and like it was like they studied TikTok and like you know what I'm saying, and like threw it all in there. Just like they made, like you said before, they made references to like Attack on Titan and everything, and so it was just, it's always nice to have a film, I feel like, that you can really relate to, because it is that modern, but also like on an animation standpoint, like really good animation. I feel like that was like a really cool blend again of that sort of style, but it also fell in like a sort of claymation. I don't know if you really say it, but it had that sort of look, I guess you could say, as
it was
well.
very like imperfect models and whatnot. Yeah.
And so it was cool. I feel like this year, like you started this all off with, this year was a big year for animation, but like it was just a big year for even experimenting in the animation genre, and this was one of those movies I felt like really did it and did it right.
Dope. Yeah, no, it's always refreshing to hear when like a kid's movie doesn't have like corny references to pop culture. Like they're not just like the most like shallow references. Like it's like you guys talking about it makes me want to watch it. I heard like good reviews, but I feel like people were just like, oh, it's like a good time. But like hearing it from you guys, I'm like, okay, now I really want to like go check it out. Because I never grew up on TMNT, so yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Are they like booting this up to be like a trilogy, like more movies, kind of, or
it seems like they might be trying to do something like that. They could. Granted, it is also Seth Rogen, so I know that like he might do like 1 or 2 movies of a franchise and then jump to the next comedy.
There was a post-credit scene.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
there was one. Yeah. Yes. We'll see.
Cool.
Yeah. It's number 2, right?
No. Yeah. You're on number 2 now. Yep.
Number 2 for me, which we won't talk a lot about. It's Jujutsu Kaisen season 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we've already talked. Between our 2 reviews, Mark and I, we've talked like a collective of like 3 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's great. It's hype. It is so good. This is the season that made me fall in love. If you want to.
Yeah, I mean, echoing what you said, we've talked about it for 3 hours between the first arc and the second arc. So if you guys haven't seen those, go check them out. Yeah, I mean, it's perfect shonen battle anime. It's modern in the fact that its pacing is great. The stakes are high. There's character deaths. The animation is beyond belief. The art direction, the camera work, it's not really a camera, it's drawing, but the camera work's incredible. And yeah, it like opened up the world to, the future of JJK's story. And I think the possibilities are endless. So yeah, that quick review because we've talked about it enough, but I'm excited to. I don't know. I might get stuff spoiled for me. Spoilers are everywhere. I know you're reading the manga, but yeah, I'm excited for whenever we get the next season. But yeah, JJK lived up to the hype. People were saying like, "This is the arc. This is the arc." And they were right. They were right.
Yeah. It was just so funny. You guys' reaction. You run over. You were like you had like flashbacks to like the 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
We cosplayed and everything. So
good.
I feel like that time has passed. Amazing. Check out those reviews if you're interested. So
yes.
Yeah.
What are we on?
I guess it's my number 1 now.
Yes.
Right?
One, yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was my number 2, and then back to you.
All right. Okay, my number 1. All of these stories that I've talked about are larger than life. They're huge. They're global in scale. But my number 1 animated project for this year was right here, Vinland Saga, Season 2, the Farmland arc. All of these very complex stories. This one takes place on a simple farm with an ex-Viking that's now a slave. And it is one of the most human stories I've ever experienced in animation, live action. It is so beautiful in its humanity, the way it explores Thorfinn's character trauma of being on this quest for revenge and just how empty that is and the trail of blood that's left behind him in that quest for revenge and the guilt and PTSD that he has to deal with that growing up with that. He's a child and he grows up in that world and now he doesn't have any pieces to pick up. Like he is completely empty. He's an empty man. And it's so great how they set this in such a simple place like a farm, because farming takes time. It takes patience, and his recovery, his journey takes time and patience. And what I love about it is that it's not an overnight redemption. It's long. It's 24 episodes. There's steps forward, there's steps backward. And I feel like a lot of redemption stories, it comes down to like one crucial scene. And I feel like with this one, it's just a slow change. And it's beautiful. And everything from the animation, the lighting in this season is incredible. The music by Yutaka Yamada is incredible, just as good as season 1, if not better. And all the characters, all the supporting characters are feeding the theme of this season, which is, anti-violence and in a world full of violence. Your worth in this world is based on the violence you can inflict on others as a Viking, as not even just a Viking, any conqueror in this time period, because it is a historical fiction. So just seeing all these characters and how violence affects them, not just Thorfinn, is incredible. I love when themes are the base of a season of television, and nothing is more thematic than Vinland Saga season 2. So I adore this story. I laughed, I cried, like this whole season was just something to behold. So I can't recommend Vinland Saga enough for someone that just wants a historical fiction that doesn't feel like a traditional anime. It just uses the genre of animation as just a vehicle to tell this just insanely beautiful redemption story that it just couldn't be told in live action because of the imagery and all that. So yeah, that without spoiling anything, that's my overall thoughts on season 2. Please check it out. It's a story that can change the world, I think. I really do believe that. So yeah, that's my number 1. Hopefully all of that is a good argument for why it's my number 1. I also had it as my number 1 show of the year, which you might see on the Cinema Wave Instagram. But yeah, that's my number 1. Vinny, I know you watched it as well. Is it on? I'm assuming it's on your list.
Yeah, so it is my number 1 as well.
Yes.
Vinland Saga.
Yes.
Vinland Saga season 2. Mark, you said it best. It is incredible from beginning to end. So I did read the manga. I've been reading the manga for years. So I kind of similar with Attack on Titan, where I knew it was going to happen. However, with Vinland Saga season 2, that the Farmland arc is my top 3 favorite manga arcs of all time. So even though like I knew it was going to happen, it still is incredible. And like you said, one of the best examples of storytelling of all time, in my opinion. I think Thorfinn's character arc in this arc alone is just something that should be studied in all of character creation. It's beautiful. There's so many moments that you just sit back and, especially in anime form, they did an incredible job adapting the source material, amplifying it, taking these beautiful moments, the colors and the animation at whole, as well as the voice acting, and like you mentioned, the music amplifies these scenes that I already adored in the manga. I mean, when I was reading the manga and you were like, if you were on like my Instagram or my Snapchat whilst I was reading it, like back then, I would post like a Thorfinn panel every day. Like I adored this arc, and seeing it in anime form, like I said, just beautiful. I, like you mentioned as well, some of the most emotion I've ever felt in a series. I'm not going to give it away, but there's a certain part that made me cry when reading the manga. And in the anime, they do an incredible job. Just how I imagined it, the piano score, it hits. Yeah. It hits. And also, they added anime scenes, too, that didn't exist in the manga, which I think also justifies my number 1 spot, because even though I knew it was going to happen, they still added and amplified, and I think made it even better as a whole with those added scenes that just weren't there in the manga. Just adding even more depth and adding even more intensity to what is happening in this arc. It's a beautiful series.
I need to go give Vinny a hug.
Yeah.
Vinland Saga Brothers. I mean, yeah, yes. If there's any better, I guess, recommendation, it's 2 people having the same number 1. So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that speaks for itself. We didn't even have to say anything. If we just said both of our number 1s were Vinland Saga, I think that probably would have told the tale. But yeah. Incredible.
I have no enemies.
I have no enemies.
Is that where that's from?
Yeah.
Yes.
No
is that
I've heard that before.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a trend?
Yeah, I think it is a trend actually, where it's like I'm in my I have no enemies phase, but I didn't know that.
Right.
That's from Vinland Saga.
Right from Vinland Saga.
Yeah. That's crazy. Oh, okay.
I know, I know after season 2 came out, there was like a whole resurgence within like the big 3 seinen manga anime, that being like Berserk, Vinland Saga, and Vagabond. Because I saw after season 2, like the TikToks and the Instagram reels of just people like now, and like you mentioned, like the whole I have no enemies phase, and like people reposting Musashi from Vagabond with like inspirational quotes. Like it blew up after Vinland Saga season 2. I mean, that even like what you said there, and the impact of how it's reached people who aren't even Vinland Saga fans, should show you the power of the message and how much it's really stuck with the audience. So
yeah. Vinland Saga is it's something. So that's really cool that it has made it like out into like a mainstream without people knowing where it comes from.
I definitely had no idea. I definitely had no idea for sure.
Cool.
So, definitely good recommendation. So many good recommendations.
Yeah. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah, I said it before. You guys, I feel like it was pretty obvious that we were gonna get to this point, though.
Spider.
My number one was Across the Spider-Verse. I feel like I was already in love with Into the Spider-Verse. That was like my favorite movie of all time, to be honest. This movie blew that one even more out the water. It's just like, and I didn't think that was possible, just because I thought that Into the Spider-Verse was so revolutionary, and it is still so revolutionary. Like, I'm not taking that away from it at all, but it just, Across the Spider-Verse, to me, like, they were able to now take like this like experimentation in animation that they had done, just like take it to a whole new level, while also just like having what I think is a super strong story. I feel like this, I don't know, like the way that they've been able to tie things between the two movies together, like things that, like, if you go back and rewatch the first one, it like seems like it's just like the smallest detail, but it like, and now this one, it's like affecting, and like it plays such a big role. And Spot, I think, is honestly one of the creepiest. He might be the most terrifying villain I've seen on screen, at least so far, at least in animation. I really need to watch more anime, but no, he's just like the way they did it with him too, like how they could just have like a guy be so like you really feel kind of bad for him, and then like, oh no, like stay away from me type character. Like, I don't know, it's so good. And then I resonate with Miles Morales first, like, so much. I've been saying since high school that one day I'm gonna get cast as the live action Miles Morales.
Hell yeah, Dream's still alive.
Dream is still alive. yes. But like, I just remember when like they even announced this character, and like now to see where it's at, like it's just like it's really inspiring to the Black community. And it's such a fucking cool movie. It's just so cool. The animation is just, I haven't seen anything like it. It's genuinely, I feel like, sparked like just like I feel like it probably sparked a lot of like these movies and films that have made a lot of our lists. I feel like it really it started like this whole new renaissance of just animation, I feel like. And Across the Spider-Verse, just, it was good. I can't wait for the third one. I'll pass it on because I know you also had it.
It was my number 4. I mean, the movie theater experience of seeing this in IMAX, just the colors, the changing animation styles just between worlds. I mean, my favorite was Gwen's, where you had this like it represented her suit. It was like the pink and the green and like turquoise, and just like the scenes where you would just cut between her and her father talking, and there was just like paint in the background just changing every time. I'm like, oh my god, like your brain's just melting watching how beautiful this animation is. And just, it's a 2.5 hour animated movie, which I think is groundbreaking on its own, and I was thoroughly just locked in for 2.5 hours. I was like, wow, I could have sat here for another 30-40 minutes. Like, I'm like not tired, like I wanted to keep going. So that's just like a testament to that. I think the humor in it is so great. I love the Indian Spider-Man when they're like, we can go get chai tea, and he's like, chai already means tea. We're not getting tea, and then they talk about all that. So I think the comedy throughout. Who does David Kaluuya play? What was his name? Hobby. Hobby.
Oh, he's the best. I love him so much.
Yeah, he was a great character. Like, they just added so many new characters, and all of them just fit perfectly into the story they were already telling. I think Miguel is a really interesting villain that I have some theories moving forward, how he'll be like maybe redeemed in the third movie with his daughter, and the idea of these canon events. Yeah, it's an incredible just watch. I hope it wins the Oscar. I wish it got a Best Picture nominee because it's it's the highest rated movie on Letterboxd this year. I think critically it was probably one of the highest rated movies, so I think it deserved that. But I think the fact that it was a superhero movie and animated worked against it, unfortunately. But yeah, I think the only reason I didn't have it higher on my list is just because storytelling wise, there've been so many multiverse movies. I think that kind of brought it down just a little for me because it wasn't wholly original, even though I like the concepts of the canon events and kind of putting like the idea of Spider-Man under a microscope. Like you see a Spider-Man movie, you're like, okay, Uncle Ben's gonna die, this is gonna happen. And I like how they just like said we're just gonna go really meta with that and be like canon event. I thought that was cool. But it was a multiversal movie, which brings it down just a little in the originality. And I think it has like part one syndrome, which I think Dune also suffered from. Like I loved part one, but it just like it felt like it was somewhat of a setup for the next movie. And I just feel like the ending of this movie, there was like a 30-minute falling action. Like there was a climax and then there was like a 30-minute falling action where I was like, okay, like are we revving up for like another? And then it kind of ends and I'm like, okay. I like the ending, like I like this twist, but those are just some of my like criticisms of why it's only my number 4 favorite animated project. But those are just some of my like critical thoughts on it. But otherwise, I mean, I can't wait for part 3.
And they also really cool. The really cool thing with the blending the real life in this one too, which is really cool. Like you had that animation meets like the real. Like I think they like brought in the Venom woman at that one scene with Spot. So like
Donald Glover is in like a scene too as
the Prowler, right?
Oh yeah, the Prowler.
That's right.
Yeah. I think, and they showed like Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, right? In some of like the canon events. I feel like they showed like him and like maybe Toby. So yeah. It's cool. It was a celebration of like Spider-Man. Like if you were a big fan of Spider-Man, like it was like, yeah, this is amazing.
I love it.
Yeah.
I loved it so much. Yeah, that's all I really have to say about that.
Nice. Is that all our top 5s?
Yeah,
I think
awesome.
I think that concludes it.
Yeah. I know we had a couple punts. I know we kind of just jumped ahead with number 1 for Vinland Saga, but that was really fun. I loved that conversation. I'm excited to check out the things I haven't seen, whether it be the 2 short films. I wrote them down, except the ostrich one. That name was too long, so I just put ostrich. TMNT, Boy and the Heron. Maybe I'll check out now. It'll take some time to kind of sit in, but yeah, I think again, just reiterating this year in animation, I think is just another stepping stone for animation getting taken more seriously. With Spider-Verse getting so much critical acclaim, with stories like Vinland Saga, something I've never seen in animation, and just Attack on Titan being a global phenomenon, Blue Eye Samurai being super mature, like their sex scenes, like there's a lot of nudity in it. I'm like, oh, this is like kind of like Game of Thrones-esque, but animated, which is really like another step forward for animation, just what they're telling in animation. So yeah, I hearing all yours, I definitely stand on my statement all the way at the beginning. I think this was the greatest year of animation that we've gotten so far. So any closing thoughts from you guys?
Not really. I think that I had a lot of fun. And it was like really difficult to like make this top 5. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And now you reminded me about Invincible, and now the Spider-Verse talk. I want to go home now and rewatch it again. Yeah, that's really it. That's really it for me.
I'm so mad you were robbed of that first watch where like the sound was like. I'm so sorry about that. I'm like so mad. But yeah, no, definitely rewatch it. I will for sure be watching Pluto, Vinland Saga. I know that I was already kind of starting Attack on Titan and Jujutsu Kaisen. I know that this time next year my list will probably look very different because now I'm kind of entering a little bit more of a boat thanks to you guys.
Yeah.
The world of animation. But yeah, no, this year from what I did see, I just feel like again it was like you said, it was revolutionary. It was a good year. It was a good year for animation.
Yeah.
So
Dope. Well, this has been the animation crew here at Cinema Wave, coming together for this culminating type of episode, which is really fun. Definitely look out for more from us moving forward. We'll be talking Invincible season 2 part 2. We'll be talking Free Ren, hopefully Pluto maybe. So yeah, keep an eye out. Solo Leveling, we just started doing that. We're all watching that week to week. So yeah, a lot more animation stuff coming from us in the near future. Let me just do some sign-offs for us for our social media pages, of course, at Cinema Wave. Sorry, I've been doing this a couple times, but, I'll just keep talking to burn some time here. All right, I got it up. So if you don't follow us already, follow us on @CinemaWaveMedia on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Threads, as well as @_CultureWaveMedia, where you can find us on Instagram as well. I'm Mark Acabino signing off. Thank you guys for watching.
And I'm Vinny Albano.
And I'm Mikey Peniston.
Peace out.